We drank beer. We like beer.
What do you consider to be too many beers?
I don't know. Whatever the chart says on your blood alcohol chart.
You know who doesn't know what too many beers is? Someone who drinks too many beers. Joining our discussion now, Liz Swisher and Lynn Brooks. Both were friends of Kavanaugh's in college and roommates with Deborah Ramirez, who has accused Brett Kavanaugh of sexual aggressiveness, I guess we could call it. Liz Swisher, your reaction to what you heard Brett Kavanaugh say under oath about his drinking?
I was appalled. He was clearly lying, and it was incredibly disturbing to see somebody perjuring themselves who's in line to be a Supreme Court justice.
And Lynn Brooks, your reaction to what you heard?
I agree. The reason that I decided to speak out was when he gave the Fox News interview, and as I said in the Washington Post, tried to paint himself as a choir boy, where all he did was study and play sports, and every once in a while he would have a beer, and that's simply not consistent with the Brett Kavanaugh that I knew in college.
I mean, Liz, he could have testified that, yeah, I drank, I got drunk a lot. I don't do anything like that now. That was my, teenage years and my college years. And then gone back to his, I think, good talking point that, look, I did all my homework. I got all my work done. So how bad could it be? But he seemed to try to do everything he could to minimize the drinking.
Right. That's what was surprising to me, is that I drank too much in college. I think a lot of kids drink too much in college. But if you're able to get your work done and you move on with your life and you don't drink as much, but we all drank a fair amount and we made some stupid choices. That would have been totally fine. If he had said that, I wouldn't be here today.
And Lynn, let's talk about Deborah Ramirez. You both were roommates and friendly with Deborah Ramirez, and her story of Brett Kavanaugh being really incoherently drunk and dropping his pants and aggressively thrusting himself in her face, and she had to push him away and touch him in a way that disgusted her. What was your reaction to that story?
Well, I did not witness any of that kind of behavior. I didn't witness that specific incident, and nor did I witness Brett doing that at any of the parties that I was with at him. I do believe Debbie Ramirez's account. She is not someone that would come forward and lie, but that's not behavior that I witnessed from Brett Kavanaugh.
And Liz, what was your reaction to Debbie Ramirez's story?
Yeah, well, that was very upsetting because I do believe Debbie. She's a very honest, she was an innocent person. But I was not able to corroborate that because, again, I wasn't there. But men rarely do those types of things when other girls are around.
And Lynn, the Debbie Ramirez accusation is something that presumably the FBI will take a look at this week. Do you suppose they'll be able to find anyone who might be a witness to that?
Well, she does recall people in the room, and there were certainly people that were referenced in the New Yorker article. Although their names weren't given, I could certainly determine who they were. And hopefully they will speak truthfully to the FBI.
And Liz, you see a college friend of yours on his way to possibly a big job, as big a job as you can get, really. And he starts having to talk about his drinking publicly, and he understates it. Why wasn't that something you could just let slide?
Because that was blurring the difference between truth and falsehood. And for somebody who is a federal judge and in line potentially to be in the highest court in our country, there can be no blurring of truth and falsehood. There can be no alternative facts. We need somebody who stands by truth and justice.
And Lynn, certainly there are dozens of other Yale people who certainly saw the same thing you did at the same parties. They're not coming forward. What made you decide that you couldn't just sit back when you heard Brett Kavanaugh say these things?
Well, I tend to agree with Liz that it's really important for people that feel that there's a need for truth in today's dialogue to come forward and speak out. Our judicial system is based on the foundation of truth. And if you can't believe a federal judge or a Supreme Court justice in what they say, then where really is our judicial system? And that's why I got angry when I saw how Brett characterized himself in the Fox News interview, because it is not consistent, it is not truthful, and there is not a separate reality of alternative facts. People need to speak truth to power.
And the FBI is going to be investigating now, and because his testimony about how much he drank is now relevant, the FBI might and probably will want to talk to you. Liz, are you prepared to talk to the FBI, knowing that anything that you say that's not true to the FBI could be considered a federal crime?
Of course. I will speak truth.
And Lynn?
Absolutely, 100%. I'm very confident in what I've been saying publicly.
Lynn Brooks, Liz Swisher, thank you both very much for joining us tonight. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Lawrence.
Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on the button below for more from The Last Word and the rest of MSNBC.